February 20th, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest local news, including an update on a Trumbull 13-year-old's arrest, the rescue of a man who jumped into the Saugatuck River yesterday, and much more. Frank Granito has a look at your forecast, and later on a Nutmeg Sports Update, and Donald Eng will join us later to take a look back on this day in history. But first, a story we're following this morning. Around 10:15 a.m., Darien police closed Woodway Road at Hoyt Street at the request of Stamford police, who were reportedly investigating a suspicious package on the road there. Now, Darien police said they don't have any further information at this time. Now, you can check for updates at DarienTimes.com, and we'll continue following that story. In other news, a Bridgeport man has been arrested for killing his 16-year-old niece. The Connecticut Post reports that 31-year-old Richard Segabiro of Fairfield Avenue confessed to killing his niece, Francine Nyanzanika. Bridgeport police said that Segabiro told officers he raised that teenage girl as his daughter. But about 10 p.m., a man called the dispatch center and reported that he had just killed his 16-year-old daughter. That, according to police spokesman Ave Harris. Now, officers immediately responded to that second-floor apartment, and when they arrived, they found the caller, Segabiro, covered in blood and his niece dead in the bathroom of their apartment. She appeared to have been stabbed multiple times. Also in the home at the time of the homicide were Segabiro's wife and his 3 young children who were unharmed. Segabiro is now charged with murder and is being held on a $1 million bond. This is the 3rd homicide of 2018 in Bridgeport. And in an update on a story we brought you yesterday, the 13-year-old Trumbull student arrested on disorderly conduct charges after posting a photo of himself online holding what appeared to be a handgun also made threats against an unspecified school. That, according to the Trumbull police. Now, following the release of information regarding that youth's arrest, several residents complained on the department's Facebook page, accusing the police of heavy-handed tactics for what was assumed to be a joke. One poster wrote, "The Trumbull Police Department doesn't have enough real crimes. They have to make criminals out of a 13-year-old kid for a stupid joke." Another commented, "Arrest for an airsoft gun, way to ruin a kid's life." They said hopefully a judge dismisses that charge. Well, in response, the department clarified that that student had in fact made threats against an unspecified school. The department said protecting our children is our highest priority. They said the case is now referred to the courts, who will adjudicate that matter. More on that story at TrumbleTimes.com. And Westport firefighters rescued a man who jumped from the I-95 overpass Monday afternoon into the Saugatuck River. This happened around 4 p.m. Firefighters arrived and confirmed that one victim was in the water with an outgoing tide. Well, firefighters wearing cold water suits entered that water in an attempt to rescue the victim. That victim traveled approximately 500 yards from where he had landed due to the current. 2 firefighters were able to swim to the victim, securing him, while firefighters on shore brought him back into shore using ropes. Now, that victim was transferred by Westport EMS to the hospital. Westport police assisted on the scene, as well as the Connecticut State Police, who are now handling that investigation. Police said it was unknown why the man jumped, and his car, which he left on the highway, was left behind. And in other news, the Shelton police arrested a juvenile for allegedly breaking into a local school and vandalizing its property with messages that caused it to close for a day. Now, on Monday, February 19th, the Shelton police arrested a 14-year-old juvenile from Shelton in connection with a burglary and acts of vandalism at the Holy Trinity Catholic School on Shelton Avenue. According to police, that arrest stems from a complaint that the Shelton police received on February 2nd regarding a break-in at that school. Detectives responded to the school and discovered several lockers, desks, and classroom walls were spray-painted with sexual references and depictions. That vandalism was so extensive that the school had to be canceled for that day. Detective Richard Bango of the Shelton Police Department reported that the damages to the school were estimated in excess of $4,000. An investigation by detectives led to the arrest of that 14-year-old juvenile, who was charged with 3rd-degree burglary, 2nd-degree criminal trespassing, and 1st-degree criminal mischief. He was given a court date at Bridgeport Juvenile Superior Court and then released to his parents. And in other news, a man was extricated from the side of his vehicle following a three-car accident on Route 7 in Ridgefield on Sunday morning. Now, this accident happened in front of the Golf Art Shop located on Ethan Allen Highway. At least one other person sustained injuries in that crash and was taken from the scene by the Georgetown Fire Department ambulance. The Ridgefield Police Department said the investigation into that crash was ongoing and that a report on the accident would be made public sometime Tuesday afternoon. It was unclear whether Saturday night snow contributed to that accident. All three cars were later towed from the scene. All right, taking a turn now, we're going to throw it over to Frank Granito for a look at your forecast. Frank, pretty warm out there today.
Yeah, and it's only getting warmer, Kate, as we're looking at temperatures right around 49, possibly even into the mid or high 50s today. This cloud cover is going to break later on before the end of the day, and we should see mostly clear skies for the first half of the evening and possibly overnight. Mild out tonight, temperatures right around 50 degrees, and then in the early hours tomorrow, we'll see increasing cloud cover heading towards Wednesday, where temperatures could skyrocket up into the 60s. Partly sunny throughout the day, and then mostly cloudy overnight, a low 42. We're going to see a shower or two passing through the county before Thursday, where temperatures back down into the 40s, a little cooler out with the breeze, and we'll see a couple of afternoon showers that'll hang around through Friday and possibly into the weekend. That'll do it for this weather update. Let's send it back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. We're going to step out for a break, come back with Donald Ang and his look back on this day in history. Frank will have your Nutmeg Sports update, and we have a lot more local news coming up after this.
Dr. Stephen Molinaro and Peter Healy of Family Practice Dentistry and Laser Dental Care have served Ridgefield for over 22 years. Experienced staff offer gentle drillless techniques, preventative care, and cosmetic procedures in a relaxed environment. Grateful for the community's trust and support through the years, new patients and their families are welcome. Call today.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home, time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
Well, there's still a bite out on the water. Most anglers have decided to stow the gear for the winter. Just because Mother Nature isn't cooperating doesn't mean you can't see the latest models of all your favorite gear. With two convenient locations, it couldn't be easier to get your fix of summer. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
Welcome back to this Tuesday, February 20th edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and it's time to throw it over to Donald Ang to take a look back on this day in history. Don.
Well, Kate, you know, we had a tragedy in Rhode Island on this date, but first we go back to 1792. The U.S. Postal Service Act establishes the U.S. Post Office. That's signed into law by President George Washington on this date. Now, in addition to establishing the department as a part of the federal government, it also established that newspapers would be carried at a discounted rate, since the dissemination of information was considered vital to the growth of the new country. By the way, although the post office was established on this date, the stamp did not come about until about 50 years later. Until then, most recipients were expected to pay for their mail when they received it. 1872 now, the Metropolitan Museum of Art opens in New York City. In its collection of more than 2 million items, we have classical paintings, music instruments, even medieval arms and armor. Now, with 7 million visitors each year, it is the second most visited art museum in the world, behind only the Louvre. And in any given year, the Met is also the most visited museum of any type in the United States. The Met and the Smithsonian's Air and Space Museum are neck and neck for most visitors most years. Speaking of the Air and Space Museum, 1942 now, Lieutenant Edward O'Hare becomes America's first World War II flying ace, destroying 5 Japanese bombers that were headed for the American fleet off of Bougainville. Now, Edward is better known as Butch O'Hare, and he was an unlikely hero. His father, Edward Sr., Al Capone's personal attorney. Before growing horrified by Capone's escalating violence, Ed Sr. then turned state's evidence and helped bring down the legendary gangster. Now, you probably think that was a dangerous thing to do. It was. It cost Ed Sr. his life. In 1939, Ed Jr. would also die young, killed in action in 1943. In 1949, though, the city of Chicago named their airport after him. There is a fighter similar to his in Terminal 2. Finally, now we go to 2003, a sad day in Rhode Island.
Flying around, and then the place just went up, and everybody just tried to get out, and they were jumping out the windows, and out the front door there were people on fire.
We ran towards the back exit where we were, and the smoke like overcame us, and we just all dropped to the ground and just like crawled out.
Rapidly, the injury toll rose. No one at this stage could guess how many had died. The origins of the tragedy were caught on video by a camera crew filming a story on nightclub safety. Pyrotechnics, part of a stage act by the band, ignited material around the ceiling. And at first, no one guessed how quickly the fire would spread.
That was, of course, the Station nightclub fire in Rhode Island, which burned to the ground on this date 15 years ago. Now, you got the basic facts from the video. The band's lead guitarist and the club's DJ among the 100 people to die in the fire. The tour manager who had set off the unauthorized pyrotechnics would later plead guilty to 100 counts of involuntary manslaughter. That is your look back in history for today, February 20th, and I'm Donald Lang.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Well, in other local news, Darien police are investigating more than a dozen car burglaries committed overnight between February 15th and February 16th near the Heights at Allen O'Neill Drive. A resident contacted police around 7:30 in the morning on February 16th to report that her wallet had been stolen from her car. Well, officers conducted a canvass of that area searching for more signs of burglaries and found that at least 10 other cars had been entered overnight, and in each case, the vehicles had been left unlocked. Well, luckily, most of the vehicles had nothing taken from inside, and police were able to contact their owners. One resident reported a set of darts valued at $160 stolen, but no other items were taken. Now, several of the cars had been searched with their glove boxes and center consoles being emptied. Two homes on nearby Herman Avenue also reported overnight car burglaries on the morning of February 16th. One victim said some change in a Dunkin' Donuts gift card valued at $20 had been taken from one of the vehicles, while a pair of prescription sunglasses, an expired driver's license, and a Macy's gift card were taken from another. Now, the other Herman Avenue resident did not report anything missing. And did Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity cause UConn to move its sports programming from WTIC AM 1080 to ESPN affiliate WUCS FM 97.9? Well, that's what Republican candidate for governor and former Trumbull First Selectman Tim Herbst alleged on Saturday as he called for the resignation of UConn President Susan Herbst. The two are not related. Now, Tim Herbst said in a press release that Susan Herbst's tenure has been marked by a relentless drive to turn UConn into an activist organization for Governor Dannel Malloy's failed liberal policies. Now, the school's sports programming, which had aired on WTIC since 1992, will now be carried on ESPN Radio and iHeartMedia next season. In a news story published by the Journal Inquirer on Saturday, Phil Zachary, the market manager for WTIC's parent company Entercom, said the split between UConn and WTIC was not financial, but instead came down to the school's demands on the station's programming. Tim Herbst also pointed to Susan Herbst's actions during the recent budget debate in Hartford when she lobbied against proposed cuts to the school's budget. He said in part Susan Herbst staged a September press conference with Governor Malloy and Democratic legislation in Groton designed to attack GOP lawmakers. Herbst went on to say Susan Herbst has become a fundamental part of the problem in Connecticut and a key ally of insiders in Hartford who have wreaked havoc on our state's economy. Now, there's more on that story at TrumbleTimes.com. And in other news, Weston's Conservation Commission is holding a public hearing this Thursday, February 22nd, about a proposed dog park at town-owned Moore property. That hearing begins at 7:30 in the Town Hall meeting room. The proposed dog park would be built on a 3.6-acre parcel located in the 36-acre Moore property off of Davis Hill Road and Lord's Highway East. Now, the entrance to that dog park would be a 1,200-foot gravel driveway that is accessible from Lord's Highway East. Now, this will not be the last chance for residents to have their voices heard about the dog park proposal. The Planning and Zoning Commission will also hold a public hearing about it on Thursday, March 1st at its 7:15 p.m. meeting. And a workshop on housing as part of Wilton's plan of conservation and development will be held this Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Trackside Teen Center. Bob Nerney, the town's planning director, said it's a question of smart growth as well as recognizing a correlation between housing needs and overall economic vitality of the community. Nerney said there may be opportunities to encourage strong synergies between housing and commercial uses. He's also looking forward to public participation. Nerney said in part, we're trying to generate excitement, and historically, Wilton has been a town very active in participation, and we want to keep those fires burning. Now, those unable to attend can write to the commission by emailing wilton2029@gmail.com or visiting the Plan of Conservation and Development website. That's wilton2029.com, where they can submit their comments. And in other news, New Canaan's Jean Scheidel held up a printout with the image of a small yellow flag with the words "Shame on You" written on it. Now, visitors to town's parks, popular with dog owners, may begin seeing these flags soon. Scheidel told the New Canaan Parks and Recreation Commission on February 14th that she wants to begin placing those flags in the ground where people leave dog waste. It appears she may need a lot of flags. Scheidel showed commission members 31 photos of dog poop from Irwin Park that she'd taken with her phone, describing the quantity of waste as unbelievable. One specific park located, she said, is covered with canine waste. Now, the commission actually liked her idea, and it led to an extensive discussion on the problem of people not picking up after their dogs, especially at Irwin and Waveney Parks, and what could be done about it. Now, members agreed the problem seems worse in the winter, especially as the snow melts and exposes some of that dog poop, some directly on the ground and some in bags that people have taken the time to put the waste in, but then just left on the ground. Now, one possibility, they said, is banning dogs from Irwin and Waveney Parks, or just one of them, or maybe even all town-owned parks. Members agreed this action certainly would get people's attention. There's much more on that story at ncadvertiser.com. But all right, let's throw it over to Frank Granito now for your Nutmeg Sports Update. Frank.
Thank you, Kate. We were at the Dorothy Hamill skating rink last night. Battle for the top spot in the FCIAC Conference in boys ice hockey. The defending FCIAC and Division I state champion Ridgefield Tigers putting their 23-game conference win streak on the line. But it would come to an end as the Greenwich Cardinals would celebrate senior night with a win, 5-3. The Cardinals prevail over the Tigers. Let's look at the highlights from last night's game.
Looking over at the Greenwich bench, you see Coach Rourke talking down to his players, saying we got to cut that off, got to stop feeding passes, giving up passes in their own end, but a good opportunity here for the Cards.
As they have the odd man rush, and Davey able to bury it under the crossbar, and the Redbirds on the board. Shot caught Simon Van Weese's shin pads. He turned it over in front of the net. Peltier Martinelli was in a scoring area but couldn't get something through. Quickly back the other way is Forrest. Leaving one behind and unable to control there was McSpedden. Cullinan down low, shovels it to himself, and the Tigers tie it up.
You listen to what I was talking with Coach Rourke in between the intermission break, is that he wanted to try and slow things down on his own end, and right now it seems like Greenwich has everything going. We're going to see it go here in the Tigers zone.
Now the puck squirts in, Nash unaware of where it was. He was circling around the crease trying to find it, and it slipped right through the wickets and over the goal line.
I mean, just a true scrum in front. The puck gets underneath Nash between his pads. And I mean, as slow as grass growing, slides in between.
Is Ridgefield. Now Kovalev on it. Up ahead, and the defenseman Santry has it. Bogger to his right, Santry the shot, he scores! Welcome back, Connor Santry.
Nifty skating, nice stop, nice shot.
And that extends the play. 4-on-4 for another 25 seconds. And then it'll be a Greenwich power play. Forrest up ahead. Forrest. Cullinan. Score! Kovalev around the waiting defender to the empty net. It's a hat trick for Nikita Kovalev.
You know, when he picked up the puck in the neutral zone, he knew he had 2 goals. He was flying to that empty net.
And on top of that, it is the 50th point of the season as Alex Mosian will get credit for the assist.
With the victory, the Cardinals now control their own destiny at locking up the top seed in the conference. They will travel to St. Joseph Wednesday for the final game of the regular season. Also in conference play last night, Fairfield got that much closer to booking their postseason ticket in the FCIAC tournament. 7-4, they defeat the Wilton Warriors. Big upset out of conference. New Canaan takes down number 2 Xavier 4-2. That win pole vaulting the Rams all the way up to the 10th ranked team. In Division I, New Canaan, still some work left to do. They have games remaining against Norwalk and St. Joe's. They'll need to win both of those if they want to play for an FCIAC championship this year. Darien falls 5-1 at Notre Dame of West Haven, and Trumbull on top of Massac 2-0. Kevin and I will break down the entire hockey slate from last night with the help of John Kovac at 2 o'clock on Nutmeg Sports. And of course, we'll get you ready for tonight's FCIAC semifinals in girls basketball. 6 p.m. tip-off in the first game. It'll be Fairfield Ward and Wilton High School, followed by Trumbull and Stanford, a rematch of last year's championship game at 7:45 in the second semifinal. That'll do it for this Nutmeg Sports update. Let's send it back over to Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. And before we step out for a break, following some breaking news just coming out of Norwalk, Norwalk Public Schools saying that Norwalk High School is currently under a shelter alert while security and officers investigate a report from a student that came in this morning. Now, they say it is business as usual in the classes, but no one will be allowed in or out of the building until that review is complete. That's the only information we have right now, but we'll keep following that. All right, we're going to step out for a break, come back, and recap some of the top stories we're following today after this.
Voted best gourmet to go in Fairfield County, Palmer's extensive menu offers everything you'll need to make your next event easy and delicious. Whether you're hosting a small get-together or planning a large celebration, they've got you covered breakfast through dessert. Order online at palmersdarien.com or call 203-655-2077.
Yeah, Dad.
Kyle, I need you to update the financial statements.
I took care of that yesterday, Dad.
Mac, I need you to get those deals approved.
They're all done, Mr. Miller.
Jeff, I need you to order lunch for the meeting. They can't do a thing without me.
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
I'm never going to retire.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
Welcome back to this Tuesday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski recapping some of the top stories we're following today. Now, around 10:15 this morning, Darien police closed Woodway Road at Hoyt Street at the request of Stamford police, who are investigating a suspicious package on the road there. Now, Darien police said they don't have any further information at this time. You can check back for updates at DarienTimes.com. And a Bridgeport man has been arrested for killing his 16-year-old niece. The Connecticut Post reports that 31-year-old Richard Segabiro of Fairfield Avenue confessed to killing his niece, Francine Nyanzanika. Bridgeport police said that Segabiro told officers he raised that teenage girl as his daughter. But at about 10 p.m., a man called the dispatch center and reported that he had just killed his 16-year-old daughter. That, according to police spokesman Ave Harris. Now, officers immediately responded to that second-floor apartment, and when they arrived, they found the the caller, Segabiro, covered in blood, and his niece dead in the bathroom of their apartment. She appeared to have been stabbed multiple times. Now, also in the home at the time of that homicide were Segabiro's wife and 3 young children who were unharmed. He is now charged with murder and is being held on a $1 million bond. According to the Connecticut Post, this is the 3rd homicide of 2018 in Bridgeport. And in an update on a story we brought you yesterday, the 13-year-old Trumbull student arrested on disorderly conduct charges after posting a photo of himself online holding what appeared to be a handgun also made threats against unspecified schools. That according to the Trumbull police. Now, following the release of information regarding that youth's arrest, several residents complained on the police department's Facebook page, accusing the police of heavy-handed tactics for what was assumed to be a joke. One poster wrote, "The Trumbull Police Department doesn't have enough real crimes. They have to make criminals out of a 13-year-old kid for a stupid joke." Another commented, "Arrest for an airsoft gun, way to ruin a kid's life." That commenter said hopefully a judge dismisses those charges. Well, in response to that, the department clarified that the student had in fact made threats against an unspecified school. That department said in part, "Protecting our children is our highest priority." That case is now referred to the courts who will adjudicate that matter. There's more on that story at TrumbleTimes.com. And Westport firefighters rescued a man who jumped from the I-95 overpass Monday afternoon into the Saugatuck River. This happened around 4 p.m. Firefighters arrived and confirmed that one victim was in the water with an outgoing tide. Firefighters wearing cold water suits entered the water in an attempt to rescue that victim. He traveled approximately 500 yards from where he landed due to the current. 2 firefighters were able to swim to the victim, securing him, while firefighters on shore brought him back into shore using ropes. Now, that victim was transferred to Westport EMS for transport to the hospital. Westport police assisted on the scene, as well as the Connecticut State Police, who are now handling that investigation. Police at the time said it was unknown why that man jumped. And the Shelton Police Department arrested a juvenile for allegedly breaking into a local school and vandalizing its property with messages that caused it to close for a day. On Monday, February 19th, Shelton police arrested a 14-year-old juvenile from Shelton in connection with a burglary and acts of vandalism at Holy Trinity Catholic School on Shelton Avenue. Now, according to police, that arrest stems from a complaint that the Shelton police received back on February 2nd regarding a break-in at the school. Shelton detectives responded to the school and discovered several lockers, desks, and classroom walls were spray painted with sexual references and depictions. Now, that vandalism was so extensive that the school had to be canceled for the day. Detective Richard Bango of the Shelton Police reported that the damages to the school were estimated in excess of $4,000. Well, an investigation by detectives led to the arrest of that 14-year-old juvenile, and he was charged with 3rd-degree burglary, 2nd-degree criminal trespassing, and 1st-degree criminal mischief. The juvenile was given a court date and was released to his parents. And finally, just a story we're following that just came in a few minutes ago. Norwalk High School is currently under a shelter alert while security and officers investigate a report from a student this morning. Now, Norwalk Public Schools says that it is business as usual in class, but no one will be allowed in or out of the building until that review is complete. We're going to continue following that story, and you can look for updates at HAN Network CT on Twitter. All right, we're going to throw it over to Frank Granito now for one final look at your forecast. Frank.
All right, thank you. Again, not as cool out today. Temperatures in the mid to high 50s. We'll see clouds making way for mostly sunny skies through the afternoon. Mild overnight with a low of 50, increasing cloudiness, and we could see some more fog before tomorrow morning. That fog should break by the midday, partly sunny skies throughout the day. We're looking at temperatures up into the 60s, so continuing to get warmer through tomorrow, but tomorrow night, mostly cloudy, a couple of showers passing through the county as temperatures start to cool down, and we'll see those showers carry on into Thursday, Friday, and possibly even Saturday. Nutmeg Sports at 2 o'clock this afternoon. We'll get you caught up on everything from last night and get you ready for tonight's girls basketball FCX semifinals. Ward, Wilton, 6 o'clock. Trumbull, Stanford, 7:45. Kate, back over to you.
All right, thanks so much, Frank. We're going to wrap things up here on your coffee break, but we'll see you tomorrow at 11 with the latest local news and more. Have a great day.